What is happening, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. I'm Mike Spider Slayer, and then we also have Cat Comic Uno here joining me today. Brant's
Hello.
MIA as of right now, as far as we know. He had a con this weekend, and if you don't know Brant like sleeps during the day. And then he's up all night. So his schedule gets messed up a lot when he goes through these cons. So there's times where he just can't physically make it. So he said he might join us for the show. So we're kind of up in the air about it. But if he joins us, that's awesome. If not, that's fine too, because you know what? He needs his rest. But we do have a good show for you today, guys. We have not a lot of news, but we're going to talk about the Free Comic Book Day books, maybe our experience for Free Comic Book Day. We would love to hear your guys' Free Comic Book Day experience as well, and sales and stuff like that. And then of course, we'll talk about the top 5 books of the week also.
It's going to be a busy show. But yeah, let's get into that news. Like you said, there's not a ton of news, but we'll start with the comic news and we'll get to the media news. So first up is that Webtoon is reimagining Fullmetal Alchemist and more. So they're also reimagining anime, which I think is interesting. We saw the IDW stuff from last week, and now we're seeing like manga. And I just think that Webtoon's doing a really good job at just exploring different things for people to get into comics, which I think is important.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, like last week we talked about, IDW and all that stuff. So whatever they can get out that is going to draw readers to comics, manga, anime, whatever it is, I'm totally fine about that. I don't have too much to say about it. Almost identical to what I said last week, So yeah, that's cool.
All right, and the last comic book news you will have a lot to say about because it's Black Cat getting an ongoing series with G. Willow Wilson and Gleb McKelvik. Gleb did the Batman and Robin series that we all really liked, and then G. Willow Wilson, obviously Miss Marvel, been doing Poison Ivy, which, this is also a return of G. Willow Wilson. I'm really, really excited for her to do Black Cat. She does a really good job at like character work and like building story and the world, so I think it's going to be cool.
Yeah, I mean, so listen, I just recently jumped on Poison Ivy when they started the all new stuff and or all in stuff, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I think G. Willow Wilson captures Poison Ivy's voice really well, and the overall story is fun. So it makes me now really excited to see what she does with Black Cat, because we seen her write Ms. Marvel, obviously her own creation. And now, what else did she write? Did she write Ghost Spider?
No, she wrote
What was it?
Miss Marvel, Poison Ivy,
Right.
Sandman stuff.
I forgot. So I felt like she wrote something in between Poison Ivy.
Not that I see. I think it's just the Sandman stuff. But you guys tell us in the comments below. Me, there was more, and we're forgetting it.
Right.
I know she had some like create her own stuff. So you guys can start the stream now. I'm here. That's funny. We're started. We're here. But yeah, no, also something that's really interesting about this news is that it's an ongoing. Most of the time, like Black Rat in particular, it's usually a miniseries. So obviously, G. Willow Wilson, I think, is given the opportunity to make it an ongoing.
I'm happy. I mean, like I said, the way she's written Poison Ivy really gives me hope that she's going to add some layers to Black Cat as well and make it a fun story to read. So I really am excited about that. But if she's going to be writing, she could be writing both. But does this mean maybe her Poison Ivy run ends?
Which has been going on for a long time. So if it
has
been
like, going on for a while, yeah.
But also Miss Marvel went on for like 5+ years. So I'm not sure. Like she's known for doing long running stuff.
I mean, I think Poison Ivy's on like issue 30 something at this point. So means she's been writing it for over 2 years. So, I mean, that's not too bad.
Yeah, and I think Ms. Marvel was around the 50s with I think there was 2 volumes. So that probably is where it was around. Let's get to some media news though. We have the Marvel Thunderbolts changing to the New Avengers, which at first I thought was just going to be because the movie was doing badly, but then I saw the numbers and the movie's doing kind of fine. Like it's not doing like great, but it's not doing bad. But also they had the asterisk next to Thunderbolts the whole time. So I guess this really was their plan the whole entire time, which I find interesting. And I don't know if it was a great marketing move or not, but they're doing it.
I mean, I haven't seen the movie. I've heard that the movie has been
It's really good.
Like
Yeah,
everybody that has seen it has said is good. And yeah, I did like 76 million, which I still think for an early May release, I think is still decent. I know it's a Marvel movie, but I don't think anybody was anticipating this movie to be like, phenomenal. I think everyone thought it was going to be like mid movie. And I think the word of mouth is going to keep this movie in the movie theater. And it's actually going to get stronger as time goes along, because there's not a single person that has told me that the movie is bad. So like, I'm trying to find time to go see it with my son, because now I'm starting to see spoilers pop up on the internet wherever I go. And I'm like trying to scroll right through it. And I'm like, I need to see this freaking movie before I get spoiled with anything,
Yeah, I'll think one good thing about this movie is that, unlike other Marvel movies, I don't think there's one shocking moment that's like that made the movie. It is really a character piece. It's really about them being a team. And I really liked it as kind of reverse Avengers. Like, I think Avengers was such a great movie because it was the first of its kind. It's made Thanos. It was this idea that movies are interconnected. But the team itself, for me personally, they don't have that great chemistry. They're just kind of coming together. But this movie does a really good job and making them feel like they should be together. And I think you're going to really like that aspect. I don't think there's a one big moment that happens. I think it's really a much more character-driven movie, which is what I really liked about it. And honestly, I don't remember the last time I enjoyed a Marvel movie this much. And I think it's because it's kind of anti-Marvel in some ways. It doesn't really feel like a popcorn flick. Like obviously it's a superhero film, but it goes a little bit deeper and it becomes a little darker. So, and obviously Florence Pugh does such a great job, but I really liked it. I thought it really surprised me because I also was not really looking forward to it. It was just like, oh, I guess I'll go see it because it's a Marvel movie. And like, I see every Marvel movie, but I was pleasantly surprised by it.
That's good. I mean, that's good to hear, because I mean, I'm really excited to see it. And I like when a movie does better than expected, you know what I'm saying? So I really am excited about it. So yeah, I hope I won't be disappointed though, but based off of everybody else, I am definitely excited.
I'll say I don't see a reality you'll be disappointed, but we will see. All right, moving on to the Revival trailer. So this is a book that, if you guys have been following the show for a very long time, I'm a very big fan of. It's one of my favorite books, and the trailer is very sci-fi. Like it's so hard to adapt something, because especially a comic, that it's like Invincible, right? You like Invincible. I think people who especially love Invincible are people who haven't read the comic, because they don't know what's going to happen next. For me, I read the comic. They really follow the comic. They don't really stray too much. So Revival kind of feels similar. It looks like they're going to really follow the comic book, which I like when they take a little bit more liberty. I like when it's like, here's the idea of the comic, but we're going to do something a little different with it. Like Walking Dead, I think, is a great example where it followed the comic, but then it strayed from the comic. And I think that was the perfect balance of, you try to keep loyal to the fans, but also like keep you on your toes. And I hope something like Revival would do that. But it's also a sci-fi show. The budget might be weird. It is the main character for Winona Earp, though. She has a big fan base. I think we're just going to go for her. So I hope it does well. I thought the trailer looked interesting to me. But again, I know the comic. I know where it's going to go. And the trailer didn't surprise me in that way.
Yeah, the trailer was very much like the beginning of the comic book, right? I mean, I haven't read Revival since it's come out. It's been a very long time. So for me, watching it again it will be like a complete surprise to me. But based off of what I saw in that trailer, I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen in the comic book. It was just like, oh, let's take all the images from the comic book and let's make it into the show. So it kind of looked that way. I can't believe after all this time it finally made it to TV.
I know he's been trying to make it a TV show for a really long time too. Like it because of that Resurrection TV show and all the other Resurrection TV shows. I think that's what got in the way. But now, there's so many options with streaming. I do think sci-fi could be an interesting place. But then Mike Manhattan does mention they also cancel a lot of comic shows like Happy and Deadly Class. Shows that people actually really liked and were like up tier. Chucky's another one that a lot of people love that. And not only, that could have went longer than it did. So sci-fi is also just known for canceling things.
Yeah. I'm curious how many people out here in the chat actually have read Revival. And if you have it and you might think you might be interested in this TV show, you might want to check out that trade and see if might be something that you like. It is a good series. It really, really is.
We have and I agree. I would be curious to see how many people have read it. Mike Manhattan says, didn't they cancel Winona Earp? I think they ended that show, but then there was more story they could have told. So they had like movies and stuff like that. But I do think they had like a concrete ending for that one. And then we have Kenneth who asks 2 movies, which are more excited for, Superman and Fantastic Four. That's tough because as a Marvel fan, I'm more obviously excited for Fantastic Four. I'm a bigger Fantastic Four fan, but Superman's the start of something completely new. It's like this is changing their whole universe. I also like the whole Christopher Reeves feel to it. So I'll say both because I'm excited for both for different reasons. And also, honestly, I will say Marvel has burned us a little bit in these past couple of movies besides your Thunderbolts. So I'm like, I'm also a little weary for Fantastic Four. So, but no, I'm very excited for both.
I'm not worried about Fantastic Four. I think they're doing this one pretty right. But the thing is like Superman is like the character, right? He's like America's character. It's so much heart. And that trailer just showed a lot of heart in it. And hearing that music and just, oh man, it just reminded me when I was a little kid personally. I never saw the original in the theater. It came out before, I forgot what year it came out, but I never went to the theater then. But I saw Superman.
Something.
Yeah, I saw the second Superman movie in the movie theater. And there's just something about Christopher Reeves that just like, he is Superman to a lot of people of what Superman represents. You know what I'm saying? And then just that trailer is just like, oh man, that's awesome. It's like the closest thing I felt like we've gotten to that since those days. And I'm not going to lie. I shed a tear. I mean, I was just like kids screaming Superman and just like, that's what it's about right there, So even though I'm super excited for Fantastic Four, and it really, I think it's going to truly kick off the next wave of Marvel movies, this Superman is just, I'm really anxious about it. I'm excited, but this movie means a lot for DC. They have a lot on the line for this because I don't know how much further they're going to go if they don't have a hit on their hands with this movie.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's going to be a tough one if it's not, but the trailer does look good and it looks very classic. That's all the news, believe it or not. That's all we had. There are, some fun news pieces, but not a lot. So we are going to talk about Free Comic Book Day. We're going to get into that.
Yeah. So first things first is, how was your Free Comic Book Day? What did your store do, Kat?
It was good. So I went for a signing. So I did a signing at the store. So that was fun to kind of be on the other side because usually I am a customer and I like on Wednesdays, especially you kind of see all the same people. So they knew I write comics, but they had the opportunity to like buy my comics. Like, oh my God, I get to finally buy your comics. So it was cool from that community sense. We signed for like 3 or 4 hours, got to meet another creator that is from Staten Island. So that was cool. And then I got to get my books and it was, I thought the day was going to be longer because I had other plans that day. And luckily, I had enough to read my comics at night. I thought it was going to be even longer than that. We were supposed to watch a movie and we decided not to. So we're like, you know what? Good. So I get to read my comics. And it was nice to kind of end on actually reading the Free Comic Book Day books. But it was cool. Like my store, they do a lot of sales. So, most people get their Free Comic Book Day books and then they'll go get their graphic novels and stuff like that. So it was cool to kind of see them do their routine in that regard. So I like that. But yeah, I had a good time. I feel like I don't take the opportunity to do the sales as much, but I also feel like when you collect as often as we do, like you almost have everything you want,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, my shop had they had sales for like 20% off of trades and whatnot. But the big thing that happens at my shop is when they have big sales like that, a bunch of new inventory comes in and they set up because they know they're going to be busy and they hope to sell the different stuff that they have. So they have like a bunch of slabs, they got a bunch of new trades, they got a bunch of new back issues, you know what I'm saying? And so it's just like, oh, it gives me opportunity to check out stuff that did not have like the week before or whatnot. Like I got two old school issues of like Godzilla, which was kind of cool because they got all that Godzilla shit out right now, right? But like I got this and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. It's like Godzilla with the Marvel characters, you know? And those were like $10 a piece, you know. I got cheap like first appearance of Doomsday slab. And then I got the Planet Hulk trade paperback, which I felt like I read it a long time ago in single issues or maybe most of it, but not the whole thing in a trade. So I wanted to get that and read it because
Which is funny because I think I have read it in a trade. I don't think I read it in single issues.
Yeah.
I wasn't into Hulk as much back then.
But
so
it's
I wasn't
good.
really
It's a
picking it
good
up.
story, you know? And so there was that. I mean, my store was like super busy, of course, like they usually are. I got
line out the door for my store. They literally couldn't fit everyone in. So they had to like wait outside.
They had mystery boxes. And so it's funny, the mystery box, like $17. I didn't get anything great in it, but what made it worth it was I got two posters. And one was a Fantastic Four Alex Ross poster, which was really cool. And then one was a Weapon X Wolverine and Deadpool poster. So just those two posters alone were worth it because you sell those posters at the store. They're at least $10 each, you know? So, and I hung them up in my space. So I was excited about that. Otherwise I got like some random pop figures that I don't want. And then just like some One Piece stuff that was like postcards and then some Pokemon shit. So I was like, oh, whatever. So, but I was happy about the posters. But overall, the experience was fun. I had a good time. Great seeing all the people there and just trying to search for things. So it was cool.
No, it's a fun time. I love Free Comic Book Day. Hopefully it will happen again next year. I did get a question here from Serial Scrub. You write comics, cool. Which book? So I sent the link for anyone who wants to check out my comics. Also, I have a Loud House comic coming out, so I'll be doing a short for the Nickelodeon Loud House stuff that's coming out in the end of May. And then there's a cool book coming out in the end of July that I don't think I'm allowed to officially announce yet, but it's like if you watch the show, it's really, really cool. And it's a short part of an omnibus. So I will talk about it when I can. That's going to be something you're like, oh, maybe you read that. So we got that coming up too. But yeah, and then our Lifeline comic stuff. I think you can find anything there. There's superheroes, there's detective stories, there's fairy tales. So go check that all out. Yeah, I guess let's go into the top 5 of our books. I was a little surprised by my number 1. So we'll see what yours.
You want to do Free Comic Book Day ones first?
Yeah. Oh, well, up to you. I thought we were going to do Free Comic Book Day, but we could do the other way around too.
The regular or the Free Comic Book Day?
I leave it to you, whichever you want to do. You know what? Let's do regular and then we do Free Comic Book Day. Let's do it that way. Cool.
All right. Awesome. So let's go ahead and let's start it off. Let me get onto our screen here. Let's see. Big books. And let's start it off with. I didn't read Detective Comics Annual. I still have to read it. I knew that this wasn't going to have anything to do with what was going on, so I didn't really read Detective. What did you think about it? What was it even about?
It's just a one-off. It's Halloween writing it, so it's a detective story based in London, and it's very like British in that regard. It's a London mystery, and that's kind of all I kind of got out of it. The art was fine. I thought it was a little bit too British for me.
It's not necessary for you to buy it.
No, because again, Tom Taylor's not writing it, so it has nothing to do with what's currently going on. If you want a detective story, go read it, but it's not really necessary to the main story.
Gotcha. All right. And then I got Void Rivals issue 18 that I read. And I thought it was a pretty solid book. It's obviously it's heavily connected to what's going on more and more with the Energon universe. You're finding more out about Solilla's people and Derek's people. And she comes across these new powers that she winds up getting. And then you wind up seeing Derek's father get involved with the whole situation, and he's preventing the unity from these people, because if it happens, then bad things are going to happen. And just overall, it's a pretty solid book. I like it. There's a lot of lore to it. And obviously it's connected to Transformers and the Energon universe, and in a way. And obviously, if you have read it, you know that this is the end of a story arc, and the artist is leaving the book, and we're getting a new artist as well. So I saw the artist that's going to be on the book, and I'm excited about the artist. I forgot who it was, but it did look good when I did the research on it. So excited for the next chapter of Void Rivals and how things continue to develop there. All right. So
the big one.
We'll go into the big book here, Ultimate Spider-Man issue 16, which is obviously the topic of the video so far today. Listen, when I read this book, I was like, shit, man, I didn't see that coming. I'm like, that's intense. But when you talk about doing something different for a character, this is it right here. This is something that, again, I did not expect, and I really enjoyed it. And it makes sense now to why Gwen Stacy is the way that she is.
I liked that, like you said, it was really different. It was funny because one of my friends today asked, like, what's going on in comics? Like, she was just like, what's going on? And I was telling her about this pretty much. She's like, oh yeah, and Gwen is Mysterio. And she brought up, she was like, why is every character always someone else? And like, that's the big twist. I'm like, no, you are right. Like, I don't understand that's why that's always the big twist. But if you're like in comics, I'm like, oh, Gwen being Mysterio doesn't make sense on paper, but it does make sense for this book because of the Ultimate Universe and how that's connected. And I think this issue did honestly kind of a ridiculous idea. Like, if you just told me Gwen Stacy's Mysterio, I think that's stupid. But like, you read it and you're like, no, that does make sense, and it works for this universe. And they played it out really well.
Right? She's not a character like how she is in the other universe.
And also, like, it depends on what type of character of Mysterio fan you are of Mysterio. Because again, I think from the outside looking in, if you're not into comics, he's the guy with the fishbowl head, right? It's like, oh, I wouldn't take him seriously. But if you read enough comics, you're like, oh, actually, he's like a pretty serious Spider-Man villain. But it is a very interesting concept in the regard of, like, I think this is such a clickbait article, and in some ways, where it's like, again, from the outside looking in, Gwen Stacy being Mysterio is such a weird take. But if you read the book, it's like, no, this really does make a lot of sense. I like the Harry stuff got a little convoluted for me, where I'm like, I guess we'll see where that plays out. But him being saved, and then him outside of time, I was a little confused by that. But everything else I think made a lot of sense. And her father being connected to all.
It was just her like showcasing like what it was like. Like, it was the illusion. Like, he was always there. You know what I'm saying? But it was her covering everything up. So it wasn't like he was out of time or he wasn't there. It was just like,
but he didn't die then. His illusion died. Okay.
Yeah. It was just like, you're just seeing, like, you know how you saw the one issue where he wasn't there, right? And you thought that he died. Well, that's kind of what really happened, what you saw in this issue. That's that point of view. Okay. So that's that. But I like the lore. I mean, I liked how, like, the history of, like, the Mysterios were. Like, there's like 5 of them. You know,
yeah, there's like a cult going on. And her dad's connected to it too. Like, it seemed like he was a Mysterio and then he died.
Yeah,
so
it's like a lineage. Cool. It's like she takes her father's legacy as the Mysterio. And I was like, dude, that's crazy. Like, I never even thought of anything like that. So it was pretty wild. But like, what's next now? Like, Harry goes into hiding? Was that what happened at the end?
Well, that's why I was a little confused by. I don't really know what he's gonna be doing and what the plan is there. Like, I don't know why he had to be out of time. Like, not out of time, but I had to be pulled out of
Society?
society. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it. Like, I don't understand that unless
His
she wants to
gravesite-
become Green Goblin. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Because his gravesite is there, right? In loving memory of Harry Osborn. And then they talk and like they're together and they walk away and the gravesite is still there. And he's just like, you know, they're just like, oh yeah, we'll figure it out. You know, he goes, I'm Mysterio, Harry. And secretive is just another word for mysterious. That's who I am. And he goes, he just sighs and he says, we'll figure it out. I know we will. Okay, so what's next? Now we take the fight to them. Now we win. So take the fight to who? Is it to the Kingpin? Is it to the Sinister Six? Is it
Or is
to
it Spider-Man?
Spider-Man? Like, is he pissed off that Spider-Man let him die? But it's not Peter's fault. It's not what he saw. He saw Harry die. You know, so I don't know. It's so interesting to me, but it is a crazy twist, and I would have never expected it whatsoever.
And I think it's interesting. Marvel is currently doing the same thing in different universes because Gwen is Mysterio in this, but she's going to be Gwenpool in this 616 version. So it's so interesting that they're like, let's make Gwen two different characters. Why not? And we'll see how it ends up working for the regular universe. But it's just so interesting how they kind of Venn diagram in that way.
But the difference is like, and we still have to read that book, right? But the difference is Gwen is a mashup character. And in here, she's just a different Mysterio. Like Beck, the real Mysterio, is still in this book, right? She's just one of the 5 Mysterios. And again, it just gave her a little bit more meaning in the Ultimate Universe on why she exists here. You know, she's more than a clone. She's more than just Peter's girlfriend. She's more than just Harry's girlfriend. She's an actual villain, anti-hero.
Lots of the universe too. Like
What's
she's connected to the bigger universe too.
Yeah.
A lot of the secrets. So no, Gwen's playing a big part, and I really like that. This is a good issue because I feel like it almost feels like Hickman's not writing this book because it feels like a totally different writer. Because usually when there's a lot of exposition to be told, he tells in a way that really bores me a lot of the times. But every issue he's done exposition for here, I'm interested because usually character does come first. He's telling it through Gwen's lens, so you get to learn more about the Ultimate Universe in that way.
Yeah, he's doing. You're 100% right. He's doing something that you don't see too often. It's more of a character book than a world building book. I mean, the world is being built, but it's not necessarily being built by Hickman. It's being built by Denise Camp, really, because he's the one that's been in charge of the Ultimate book, and just everything surrounding that. So it's just like Hickman just features on the characters of Spider-Man. And I feel like the writing is stronger there. So
I agree.
Good stuff. All right. So let's move on. Let's talk about our number 5. What's your number 5?
Mine is Wolverine and Kitty Pryde. I think this is really only a good book, and if you're a fan of that old series, it very much follows up
125% with
yeah,
you.
And I obviously love that old series, so I love that it's continuing. But then also, I'm like, well, why is it? And that's the one thing, why it's a little lower is like, there's no reason why this story is happening. And I don't really quite understand where the plot's going to go, but I like the characters. I like this world. I like the Ogun stuff. I think that's a lot of fun. But yeah, it's not going to be for everybody. And it's for such a small amount of people that almost don't understand why it exists. But I mean, I'm having a good time.
Hey, I read it. I won't be reading the second issue. It's so odd to me to bring Kitty back into that time frame because she doesn't even act like that anymore. And that's my exact problem. It almost feels like she's such a different character that I'm like, well, why am I rereading this version of her? Right. She's like such a whiny baby in this. And I'm just like, I get it. She's much younger here. So like, But I was like, oh, it's like almost annoying. And I personally wasn't a fan of the artwork in the book. I just felt like it lacked detail and the facial expressions were off on it. And again, I get what they were going for because this is an older time period, but it just wasn't interesting enough for me to continue. Like you said, you have to be one of those hardcore fans of Kitty and Wolverine and that time period of those characters. So I will pass.
You know what? Like, it's one of those books where I'm like, yeah, I don't blame you. Because, like, even if I wasn't a hardcore Kitty fan, I don't know if there was anything in this issue to get you to issue 2,
Right.
especially plot wise. It's like, oh, what's going
The
on?
hook
But
at the
because,
end was like weak. You know,
yeah,
it's like the snow character or whatever it was. I'm like, uh-oh, watch out, guys. You know?
I completely agree. And honestly, like, and obviously you don't love Exceptional X-Men, but like if someone's like, oh, I really want to get into Kitty Pryde, I 100% like read Exceptional X-Men. So like, this is not the one you should be reading, or read the original Wolverine and Kitty Pryde, because obviously that was told for a reason. It was built up to her
Sure.
character. It was,
Right.
you know, a time and place. This is not really as much a time and place.
Correct. It makes sense back then. You know, it's characters new. All right, so let's go on to well, I read Godzilla vs. Spider-Man, and so
No
what was
Predator versus
my number
Spider-Man.
5? I forgot about that.
Yes,
My
you
number
should do number 5.
my number 5 was Planet Death. This was like that $2 book that they gave away that was from Bad Idea. Kind of
Oh, I don't even think I got that.
it was this.
Oh yeah, I don't think that was on my radar at all.
So this is from Bad Idea. This is an issue 0. The main book comes out in, I think it was, they said July or something like that. But it was just like pure science fiction, action, fun. And it was like very short. And it reminded me of the old school movie. And I said it in my review, Starship Troopers, if you ever seen it. Just like this, almost like this cheesy type of fun action book. And it's all about these like marine cyborgs that are invading this alien world. And they're like going into description of like what's going to happen when they destroy all these aliens. And then the aliens sit there and talk and back to the guy that they captured. And they said, well, thank you for giving our location, because now we're going to shoot down your soldiers and we're going to do this and that. And it was all super descriptive, but it in a good way. And it was kind of like a foreshadowing of this big war that was about to happen. Artwork was absolutely brilliant. It's printed on like old school, like paper, you know, like how comics used to be made. And it just really surprised me. And it does a great job at getting you hyped up for the very first issue to come out. And I'll definitely check it out. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, to let other people know that this book exists in case you didn't know it was out there.
No, I didn't even know this was a thing. And obviously usually I'm in the know about things, but Bad Ideas, it's not usually, I think, promoted very much, honestly. Like they're in select comic book stores. That's like their whole thing. They're not like every comic book store. So it's they also obviously do a lot of Kickstarter. So no, it's good that you put on people's radar, because I don't know if it would have been.
Right. Excuse me. Okay, so now we move on. We'll go on to let's do Power Rangers first. Power Rangers Prime issue 6.
This issue was okay. It was more of an origin story issue, just one of the Rangers. You get to see his past. I think it's important because these are Power Rangers that aren't from that original series, the Mighty Morphin series. So it's just good to get more information, but it wasn't a top 5 book for me.
Gotcha. And then I read Godzilla vs. Spider-Man. This is issue 1, which is only, there are a bunch of one-shots. So this book was weird because you're not supposed to take it seriously, okay? And it's also written by Joe Kelly. And the thing about it is this takes place in the time frame when Spider-Man came from Secret Wars, and he just got his black suit. And then he has to do battle against Godzilla. And the way this is written is it's written like Joe Kelly is like making fun of Spider-Man like back in those days, right? And you have Mary Jane in there, and you have Black Cat in there, and you have those two like fighting over Peter in the book. They're trying to make it funny. They're trying to put these crazy editor's notes in there to try to make it funny, but it got annoying. Spider-Man wasn't aware of his black suit back then and was a symbiote. So when Godzilla roared, right, he screamed and the symbiote exploded. And guess who became a symbiote?
Godzilla.
Yeah. And for some reason, Noel shows up in this book. I'm like, why is Noel in this book? He even exists in this time period. And then it's like, for some dumb reason, we find out that like Peter never brings the symbiote suit to the Fantastic Four, and it exploded all over the place, and then somehow it winds up on Eddie Brock. It's just one of those books that you're supposed to take it as a fun book, and it's not canon, or otherwise it would have messed everything up. But it's just, I don't know, it's kind of stupid. And it's just, I don't know. I tried not to take it seriously, but it's just it is kind of dumb, man.
It's hard when Noel is showing up in a Secret Wars.
He just showed up. I mean, he's like literally like in a panel, but it was like, hey, let's just show Noel to let you know that he's been around forever. And it's like, I get it, but this story took place when nobody even knew who Noel was. So why even show him? There's no point. So this is just I don't know. This is not a very good comic book. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Let's move on. Number 4. What was your number 4?
Mine was Snot Girl, issue 20. We talked about this earlier. This is going to be the last issue for a while because they're going to do a graphic novel. I liked this issue when it was about Lottie and even her family. I thought was very interesting, but there was another chunk of it about other characters that I am not as interested in. That brought it down a little bit. I just think if you just focus on your main characters, it's more fun, especially the last issue for like a whole year. But I love this book. I have a good time with it and curious to see where it's going to go and how this is going to end, because it will be nice to have an ending, even if we have to read it not through single issues.
Yeah, that's true. My number 4 was the Slasher's Apprentice, issue 1.
Oh, my friend wrote that, so I was happy you enjoyed it. It's
I was
just
good.
missed my top 5.
I liked it. I thought it was awesome because it really deals with this PTSD situation that this kid's been going through. He witnessed his parents getting murdered when he was younger in his house. And ever since then, it triggered him to follow serial killers and murderers and do podcasts on them. And it was kind of interesting because he knows where this murderer or serial killer actually is, and he's tracking them down. And then at the end, you wind up finding out that he wants to be the apprentice. And it's like, wow, is this kid really that disturbed that he wants to be a serial killer himself? Or is it his thing to actually murder this serial killer? That's what I'm thinking of. And it's kind of like a ploy.
I think that'd be interesting. I hope they do go that direction. I like this book, but I also am curious, where does it go? Because obviously this is the final girl type character. The final girl is usually, going against the slasher. So if you're teaming up with the slasher, it's definitely a play on the genre I've never seen, that I don't know if it works in the genre, but I'm curious to see if it does. I think if anything, this creative team can do. It's the same creative team that did Finger Guns, so which was really out there in a great way. So I think it's a really fun premise that I'd be very curious to see how they stick the landing. And I think your direction, I think it would. I'm curious if it sticks around with just I'm the slasher. Where that goes, because it is a big twist on the genre that is going to be hard to go through hurdles, but I'm sure that this team can do. So I'm just genuinely curious how they're going to do that ending, because it really could go anywhere.
Because it would be cool. The main character just sits there and says, oh, yeah, I want to be your apprentice, gets trained and, gains the trust of the killer. And then by the time you get to the end of it, boom, that's how we get our revenge. Or is this person truly just sick and wants to be a killer? Or it's, hey, I still want to be a killer, but I'm going to kill the original killer. Like, it's Slashers
A lot of
Apprentice.
places you'd go with it. Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like, like Star Wars. It's just like sooner or later, the apprentice takes down the master and then you become the master. So maybe it's something like that too. So I don't know. We'll see. But I liked it. It definitely surprised me and just had a good time with it. All right. So let's move on. Where are we at? We talked about Wolverine and Kitty Pryde. So now we're going to go on to Feral issue 12. Feral for me was good. It wasn't in the pet store.
I know. I was a little disappointed with that, but it was like a good issue. Yeah.
No, it's okay because it doesn't rely always on the action to make it a good book. It relies on the character work, just like Walking Dead did. You're already getting to see the characters on how much they've changed from the very first issue to this issue. Especially, I would say Gigi, the one that has the kittens, right? I mean, she's one that's starting. She was the one that was very hesitant at first, and now she's starting to get a little bit more of a tougher skin, and maybe she might be losing it a little bit. She lost her eye. Crazy stuff. You get introduced to the dog. You wind up getting introduced to this other new cat.
I liked the dog a lot. I thought that was interesting because obviously, usually not dog's best friend. But I liked how it protected the kittens, and this other cat was like, no, like this, I know the dog, it's good. So yeah, no, I agree. The character moments is what made this issue. I still wanted to be in the pet store because I want to see that setting. But we'll get there. Like you said, it is very Walking Dead in that regard. Where Walking Dead would take a lot of time to kind of get to the next place, even if the next place was right there. But no, again, I think this is one of the only books who could kind of do that, where it's like it's still a good issue, even though you're not where you want to be. And again, it's all because of those characters for sure.
Right, exactly. And I like what is her name? Elise is the cat, the one with the cone, just sitting in the tree, and then sees the kind of like the what's it called? The entryway to the top of the to the pet store. So that's what kind of triggers going forward. So yeah, man, it's a good time. I like it. I can't wait for more. And I do like the dog as well, because it's like, if you were a fan of stray dogs, now you got yourself a dog in the book. So I think that's awesome there.
As a bigger dog fan, I was happy to see that.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so let's go on to our number 3. What was your number 3?
Mine was Feral. We just talked about it.
Funny. Mine is a book that I don't think anybody reads, because I think it's that far under the radar, and it's Pinup Apocalypse. So it's another.
I have heard it's a Kickstarter book. I have heard of it. I didn't end up reading it. Yeah,
it's another zombie book, and it's about a female whose name is, I think it's Foxy. And the girl in the black there is Roxy. And it all started off like in this perfect like 60s, setting, pinup setting of like the perfect girls, and she has to she's going out to get this red dress for her prom date, and next thing you know, she's at the shop, and this bomb hits right outside the shop, and it emits like this smoke. And then everybody becomes zombies, right? And now it's her job to obviously escape these zombies and not get attacked. And she has this unlikely team up with this Roxy chick who's rough around the edges. And Foxy's like the perfect girl. And so they balance out each other really well. And they got to stop these zombies. But what makes this book really good is the artwork is it's so beautiful. It pops. It's hysterical. It's funny. And it's just like, I don't know why I like this book so much, but it's just entertaining and just a good time. There's not a really in-depth plot except them escaping these zombies, but just seeing all the interactions with the characters is great, dude. And I absolutely have such a fun time with it.
I'm glad you like it. I like when those under the radar books. You had a lot too. You had a lot of more indie books.
Yeah, I think I definitely think I have decent amount of indie books this week. All right, so now we're talking about let's see, Fantastic Four issue 31.
Yes, you read that one.
And I read that one. So what was that one about? It's like one of the first books I read. Oh, okay. So this is a One World Under Doom. And then you wind up getting to see Ben Grimm get his powers back. So he literally lost his powers like 2 issues ago. And now he
I was like,
gets
I
them
didn't even
back.
know he lost them.
Yes. Doom took away his powers. And he was depressed. He was upset. And then he figured out, okay, what do I have to do to get my powers back? Oh, why don't I just infect myself with the cosmic rays again? And we'll go through different universes to do that. And so after so many attempts, it finally worked, but it kind of messed up the Fantastic Four in this other universe. They actually didn't become the Fantastic Four. So what happens to that Fantastic Four in that universe? You don't know. But all we know is this universe is Ben Grimm is the Thing once again. We couldn't even go a couple issues without him not having his powers. You know, that's a little frustrating to me. So
I'll say that's a book I will pick up when it relaunches just because why the hell not? But it's not one that I have enjoyed as much, which sucks because I do love the Fantastic Four. But honestly, the last time I really enjoyed the Fantastic Four was Dan Slott's run, which is shocking. A, because it was such a long time ago. And B, it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's a run that people don't remember very much.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the overall book itself has not been bad. It's just like, I don't like you make such a big deal about this character losing his powers and it's going to be a major plot point. And then you just bring his powers right back. Like it's so easy, you know, it shouldn't be that way. Have him deal with it, you know, have him be human for a little while, you know, it shouldn't be that easy. All right. So let's move on. Let's talk about book you read. This Question All Along the Watchtower. This is issue 6.
I like this book. And I think you will like in this book, like the people watching, if you are enjoying stuff like Justice League Unlimited. I am not liking Justice League Unlimited. I will most likely drop that book, honestly. It just hasn't really been catching me, but I think this connects to it pretty well. I like this book a lot when it had to do with the mystery too, and I like the question. I think she was good. I don't know if this needed to be 6 issues. I think honestly 4 or 5 would have been fine. But you know, I'm glad a smaller book like this did a little bit more for the bigger universe. So I thought that was cool. So like I said, depends on what type of fan you are, if you're going to pick it up or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think I read the first or second issue, but you talk about Justice League Unlimited, I dropped it as well. I think it doesn't work in the comic form like it did on the TV show. And that's why I dropped it. And I'm disappointed at that because I was so excited about that book. I could not wait for that book. And it doesn't work. And then right now you got this crossover that's going on top of it. And so like I dropped it and I probably will continue to not read it as of right now, which is a shame because I thought it was, again, going to be a freaking awesome book.
No, I agree. Give me 1 second. Hold on.
Yeah, sure. All right. So with that being said, we're going to move on to number 2. And my number 2 is I know a book that Kat doesn't read, and that's Red Hulk. This is issue 3. Again, you talk about another fun comic book, just like the pinup book. The Red Hulk book is just another fun comic book read. It's almost reminds me back when I was like 14 years old and I was reading comic books and I was just like liked it for action and I didn't care about like main plot or anything. That's what kind of this book is. I mean, it really is Red Hulk escaping Dr. Doom, his Doombots, teaming up with Deathlock, 90s character, Machine Man, and just that's all it is. But it's just fun, you know, and you have Thunderbolt Ross, who can't change into the Red Hulk right now because he has no more radiation, is trying to get to a destination where he can radiate himself so he can change into the Red Hulk, so he can take on Dr. Doom. So it's like this very intense race to this destination that they got to get there and that they don't get captured once again. And like I said, not very much in-depth plot, but just a fun book to read. And hey, it may not really be connected into the main plot of Doom, but Doom's still involved. So you can say, hey, it's under one world under Doom. It's loosely connected and it's fun. So I like it.
Yeah, I have skipped that one, but I am glad you're having a good time with it. Sometimes you just need the popcorn flick.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like I talked about with the pinup book. It's the same type of thing, you know?
We do
All
have a
right.
question from Parker
Yeah.
Luck. Why is Under Doom event so boring? Marvel's out of ideas. I can't just tell that. And that's why I think editorial has far too much to control of the stories. I dropped Under Doom after the first issue. And that's mostly because I think the events just have to lead to something. I think Marvel tends to be like, oh, 3 months in, I guess we need another event. And they don't really do anything. An event shouldn't be that. It should be in an event. And there are titles that have done that. We've always mentioned the Venom event from the few years ago, War of the Realms, things like that. The problem is those have been like a couple of years ago at this point. I don't remember a Marvel event that's done something in a very long time. They're mostly like this. And that's why I tend not to get excited for them. I'm just like, I know what this is. And I tend not to even continue reading them because they really don't affect the Marvel universe that much. I think the most we had was the Blood Hunt. Was it the Blood? What was the last one we just had? Blood Hunt.
Yeah.
And Miles Morales was a vampire.
Right. But
how
that's
long
not
was
even
that?
Yeah, I mean, but that was even a short event, and it all that did was that was kind of like a precursor or prequel to kind of this, because of Blood Hunt, it made Doctor Doom into the Sorcerer Supreme, and now that's why we have this event. So really, that's why Blood Hunt existed, is to get to this point.
Well, also Blood Hunt existed because they thought there was going to be a Blade movie, and then there wasn't.
Yeah,
That was pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
Tevi asks about Ultimate Incursion. That's going to be a very. It's weird for me to say that's the exception, but that is kind of the exception because it's such a side. It's everything in the Ultimate Universe. If you like her and if you love Ultimate Black Panther, or love Ultimate X-Men, there's something there that I think most people can find, and most of the time it's Ultimate Spider-Man. And I think it's more cohesive. They are. I won't say being connected, but it seems like everyone's kind of piloting their ship and it's making sense. So I think Ultimate Incursion can make sense. I don't even know if that's going to be good. Like we'll see what it has to do with Miles, but that one at least feels like it's a reason it exists. It has to do with the Ultimate Universe. They've been building towards it. These other ones, they just don't. They're just there to be there, and that's not going to make a good event.
Yeah, I mean, King in Black was my last favorite one because it was the Marvel
such
Universe
a long time ago
was involved. Yeah, it was involved, and you got this threat that nobody knew who it was, and the threat was very menacing, and it affected everybody. So I mean, but it was done right. I really enjoyed it. So, but that was honestly the last great event that came out from Marvel.
And I like that event because I was even reading Venom and I was enjoying it. I was like, oh, I don't even need to read Venom to enjoy it. Like, I'm just having a good time with it. And I just looked at the publishing date. It ended in 2021 and we're in 2025, which is so sad.
King in Black?
Yeah. King of Black was 2021, which is crazy. But, and again, I'll always state this. It is so interesting because I was with my friend Phil and we went to see Thunderbolts yesterday, and he's like, oh, like I like the movie a lot, but I like Suicide Squad more. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting because I think that's coming because you're more of a DC fan. Like I totally get it, and I'm more of a Marvel fan, so I'm like, oh, I love Thunderbolts for this and this reason. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what it feels like to be a Marvel fan. I'm like, it's so interesting because Marvel has been so bad with the comics that I've been like so much more on DC's side of the fence. It's weird to like be in that zone and be like, no, I'm a Marvel fan, like this. I'm obviously gonna have a better time watching probably a Marvel thing because that's what I like more. Right. Or that's what I've been embraced with more. So it's so interesting with the comics, or I'm like so defensive more of DC just because I think they're doing a lot better. I think there's just more cohesion and there just seems more being more of a plan, even with their events, like All In. There's still ripple effects of like all the stuff going on with Darkseid and Absolute, and then even something like Beast World, which not everyone loved, at least had the effect in Titans, and it like was a fun event. Like I think it had some effect in some sort of way. And even that Superman summer special, like how they're teasing everything with Superman, that feels important too. And I want Marvel to have that more. And I'm trying to think of even a character that's had a good event there, because usually you can at least pinpoint like a character or a franchise that has had a good event. And I can't even think of that from Marvel.
I mean, All In. I mean, when you look at All In or you look at the Absolute universe, it's all building to something. And that goes into the, we'll talk about in a little bit, like the Free Comic Book Day issue. That's all building into something huge. And I like how it's taken its time to develop it. Now, I would say the only other thing that, Marvel is doing is they're kind of building the Ultimate universe, but I don't think it's as impactful.
Or connected, because look at those other Absolute titles. Like every single one is like bangers. And I'm like, oh yeah, I like Ultimate Spider-Man, and you like the Ultimates.
Yeah, I like the Ultimates, but it's like, besides those two titles, like, yeah, you have Ultimate Black Panther, which I think some people like, but is it really connected? And then Ultimate X-Men, like, there's people that read that, but that's not really that's not connected to anything, So I don't know. We'll see. All right. So where are we now? We talked about number 2. We talked about my number 2.
Yeah, no, your number 2 is yeah. So I think we're at Radiant Black. Did I? No, I didn't do my number 2. So.
Yeah, what is yours?
Which, believe it or not, was Radiant Black. So ended up working out that way. I really like this book because it's something I very much like about superhero books and making it more character driven. It's about Marshall finding out that his mom doesn't like Radiant Black, and like the people of the world don't like Radiant Black because of the whole event. He teams up with Radiant Pink, and Radiant Pink's on a date while it happens. And it's just, and then he also has a little crossover with Rogue Sun and has a good conversation with Rogue Sun about like, how do I feel like my mom doesn't like me? What do I do about it? And I think it goes back to, it shows that interconnectivity of these worlds, and that these characters know each other and mean something to each other. And then you have the more relatable stuff, like the family impact of being a superhero, which I really liked. And the art is always strong. I just think it got back on track when it went back to the daily lives of superheroes, where I think when it went to that big event, it kind of lost me a little bit, but I'm glad it's returned to its glory.
Gotcha. That's good. I mean, that's important, I mean, it's kind of like why you liked Invincible, right? Invincible is a very grounded story. And so Radiant Black is kind of similar to that, Yeah, like I said, my shop never got the relaunch of it, so I'm kind of like, well, that's fine. I don't need the extra book, Yeah,
it's not a book where I'm like, Mike, how are you not reading it? Because it is an issue 30-something at this point. So it's like, if you, and especially because you liked the beginning, but you didn't like it as much as me and Brant. I would say, like, if you loved it as much as we did, you should be picking it up. But yeah, it's not. It's hard to say. Don't think you should special order it, but because I do think it's a really good book. But you read a lot of other books, and it's it's a little harder. Yeah, a lot of other superhero books, and to be exact,
Exactly. All right. So with that being said, then we dive into our number 1 book, and mine, of course, is Ultimate Spider-Man. So I mean, we already talked about that, and just looking forward to more of this series and how it just how it continues to pan out. But now we have a little bonus section. We won't spend too much time on these books, but we want to talk about our favorite Free Comic Book Day books of the week. I think it was like 10 books, and a lot of these books I already read like over a week ago, because I did a video with my comic book shop and they gave me these books. So like I read them ahead of time. But I'll just go through my top 5 real quick. My number 5 here was the Find Your Dark New Fear, the IDW one, only because it had Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees on it. That's why. It was the first story. It gave you about a 4, 5, 6 page preview of what the story is going to be about. So that's why that one kind of made the list for me. My number 4 was Conan Scourge of the Serpent.
Another one I didn't read. That's funny.
Yep. So this one is a book where it's kind of giving you an event of what's coming out in the summertime for Conan, so it's going to be taking place in one of the books and then having its own book. And this was a whole entire story. It was no preview, no nothing. So full story right there. So that was like my number 4. Then I had my number 3, which was the All In book, which was really good because I felt like if you were new to the Absolute universe, it gave you an idea of what the Absolute universe was. And you see the villain that's putting all the pieces together, which I thought was freaking awesome.
I like the Absolute part a lot. I think my only negative towards it was actually the Superman part. It wasn't bad, but I'm just like, we have another Superman book, but we have their main superhero book, and this is not really doing anything that different. I'm like, but I just want to read the main superhero. It's like, it doesn't feel like a necessary book, if I'm being honest. We'll see as the issue goes, like the series goes on, but it just kind of feels like any other Superman book. And I'm like, I already have my favorite Superman book, so why read another one?
I'm just not sure where this unlimited one fits in. Like, I don't know if Superman is going to be the main book anymore, if this is going to be the main book, if Joshua Williamson's going to stay on that book. You know what I'm saying? So
I think it's going on at the same time. I think it's just a secondary series for what I understand. Right. I think Superman's still going on.
Gotcha. And then my number 2 is actually the Energon Universe book, which was really good because this is also a like a story that goes all the way through, which kind of gets you. It's a good crossover book because we haven't really seen any of the Transformers crossover with the G.I. Joes, and you get to see Clutch and Hound work together in this book. So I thought that one was pretty badass as well.
I thought that one was interesting too because, again, I read it as just to read it to kind of review it, but I read it also to see if it was new reader friendly, and it was pretty. That's the whole point of Free Comic Book Day, try to get new people on the books, and I thought that they did a good job at being like, oh, like this is good for Transformers and G.I. Joe fans, people enjoying this universe, and also people who maybe never read it before.
Right. And then my last one was the Mark Spears Monsters issue 0. This one is a prequel to the series that's currently going on right now. And it was freaking creepy as hell, dude. It was like, it reminded you of It. You got this creepy clown that's trying to get to this little girl. And it's like, oh, come to my forest and let's do this shit. And we can go play together. And it was like flipping creepy, dude. And then the Slayer comes along and he goes after this clown character. Oh my God. It was just a lot of fun. But the artwork is what truly, truly like makes this series, the main series and this series. I really enjoyed it. And again, it wasn't a preview book. It wasn't like 6 pages or 10 pages. Full book, absolutely for free. So really appreciated that there.
So, yeah.
What were yours, Jeff?
Mine, number 5, was Thundercats and Powerpuff Girls. I thought it was a good way to cross over these two franchises. I will also say I don't know if it made me convinced to read the next ones just because I don't know anything about Thundercats, but I think if you like both these franchises, you'll enjoy it. But I'm also curious who do like both these franchises because there's very different generations. Thundercats was the 80s, Powerpuff Girls was the 90s. So I'm like, oh, I wonder like who's this really for? But interesting enough. Then number 4 was the All In stuff. The Superman stuff brought it down a little bit, but I did love the Absolute teases. Energon Universe was my number 3. Again, more out of body for me, but I genuinely thought it was new reader friendly and it was a good issue, even if I'm not a huge fan of Transformers and G.I. Joe. Number 2, I'm going to talk about this, and it really was only for that last story, and it was the Fantastic Four X-Men. I thought the Fantastic Four X-Men side of stuff was so bad, but that last story with the Paul thing was so funny.
With the freaking, what was it? Because
it was so funny, and not funny in a good way. It was funny, like how, again, a lot of, especially Marvel, like every story meant nothing to me. The Spider-Man stuff went nowhere. The Ultimate stuff felt like the last Free Comic Book Day book. I'm like, we already found this. And at least that, I got something out of it. I'm like, at least Marvel knows we hate Paul. And that was enough for me.
It was like Wolverpool and like Dead Farine or something like that. And then it was just like, yeah. So, and then it has an editor's point, like, oh, we're going to kill Paul, but not really. Like it said, no, there's like a quotation at the end of it saying, oh, yeah, we're first issue, no, we're not going to kill him, but whatever. But I was like, oh, if they were going to actually kill him, that would have been great. I would have picked up that issue, but that's not real life right there. And then I was like, who are these characters? Like, they're mashups of mashups. I'm like,
I think they're just like us. Supposedly, they're like the Gwenpool character. I had a fun time with that last one. The other two, I don't read Fantastic Four. Next one was honestly kind of boring. And it was just that giant size stuff that I don't think me or you were very excited for. So, and then the Spider-Man stuff, I was very disappointed by. But my number one was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a graphic novel. I like this one. It's about this kid who's gotten into some trouble. He needs to write an essay, and he needs to write it on Kareem. And the guy's like, you can't write it about his basketball career, though. So he has to learn about him outside of his basketball career. And I thought that was very fun. And I got to learn a little bit more about him as a person. So as a basketball fan, I enjoyed it. And I thought, honestly, just had the most story, even though it was a preview to a graphic novel. A lot of these Free Comic Book Day books are just so short that they're hard to get anything out of it. So at least with that, it was a preview to a book where I wouldn't have known about it. And I was like, oh, like, that sounds interesting. I never would have known that book existed unless I had picked that up. So I think, it did its job.
Right. That's why, like, most of my top 5 in the Free Comic Book Day books were most of them were full stories, or 2 stories, right? The only one that was like a preview book was the IDW one, but I needed to see the Beneath the Trees thing. I was so desperate to see that, Wow, that's crazy, dude. James says he went 8 p.m. on this. I thought he said it was 8 a.m. 8
a.m. That would be pretty crazy.
8 p.m. I can see that, where the stuff has actually been picked through for sure. I can tell you, I got to my shop at 12, and my shop had everything except this one. They were out of it.
I did pick up Monsters, and they still had it at 12:40ish. I'll say I saw the smaller piles by like 3 o'clock. I'll say 3 o'clock is when I started seeing things dwindle a little bit more.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of the Marvel and DC stuff, so you're obviously going to get that. But the more, like, again, the Monsters or your Kareems, you're probably not going to have those. And those are honestly, those are the special ones. Marvel and DC, I don't know if they're as special. But yeah, it was a good day. We love Free Comic Book Day. Go support your local comic book shop.
And we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah.
All right. So let's dive into the most anticipated comics. So this one's been delayed for you, Kat, and it's been delayed for me.
Delayed again?
No, it was delayed. And that's why I didn't put it on my top this time.
Because you had it last time.
Yeah, it was there last time. This is Captain Planet issue 1.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to know what they do for it, right? Like, that's such a corny series. Like, how do you make it serious? And I want to know if it's Power Rangers-esque. I'm just very curious about it. And also, I like David Propose. He's a friend, so I want to just see what's up. And obviously, he's been doing Space Ghost. He did Cable that I really liked. So I have faith. It'll be a solid book.
I do too. Listen, Captain Planet was like the Cheese Whiz cartoon for me on Sunday mornings when I was a kid. There was nothing else on except freaking Captain Planet. And I'm like, I guess
it's kind of superhero-esque, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, it's a superhero show telling you a message to save the earth. I'm like, I don't want that. I just want fighting and battling. Think about it. I came from the generation of G.I. Joe and Transformers, and there was all that. And then you got Captain Planet, like, come on, man. So hopefully this is a little bit darker. I'm excited to check it out, and we'll see what happens. All right. So then your number 2 and my number 1 are the same.
Yes.
Absolute Green Lantern issue 2. Definitely a much different Green Lantern. And I think that's what makes it so exciting.
Also, just that first issue is so surprising in every way. Again, it's a different Green Lantern, but everything else, like the pieces they put together, the art was really good. I see this being my favorite absolute title, I think. If it continues going this way, I think this could be my favorite.
Yeah, me too. I'm a huge fan of Green Lantern, and I like seeing this like different style of it. And as long as it's written well, I mean, obviously I can see myself really getting into it. So I'm excited. Hopefully we'll get the story of Jo on like how she got the ring this time around.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of get from her point of view because it was more Hal's in that first issue.
Right. And then my number 2 is actually Absolute Superman issue 7. We're gonna get the first full appearance here of Brainiac. So that's a big deal. We're gonna get to see what this sicko does in the Lazarus world that he's in, and I guess you're gonna see the cities in the bottles, and you're going to see how he controls things, and I'm just all for that. Last issue we got to see Clark, his origin story, why he's so emotional, why he's so upset, and now this time we get to see the villain. So I really am excited for that book. And then let's see, your number 1 is All New Venom issue 6.
Now we can finally see what the reveal is about. That's why I'm really excited. Like, I just want to see the aftermath because, like, obviously that last issue was like, she's Mary Jane. Now you can actually see Mary Jane as Venom. So I'm just really curious about it. Again, we always say this. The most anticipated doesn't mean the thing you think is going to be your number 1. It's the thing you're most curious about.
Yeah,
I'm very curious about that book.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's going to start to set the tone of really what this series is going to be about now. We got the mystery, then we're going to get the origin story, then what happens after that. And I think that will really make the determination if you're going to continue this book or not. So
yeah, for sure. If you don't like this issue, you might want to drop it.
yeah, exactly. All right. And then and we talked about my number 1, and I didn't do my number 3. My number 3 is actually Ultimate Wolverine issue 5. I wasn't a big fan of issue 4. It was just a very weird issue with a wolf fighting a bear, and obviously it represents Wolverine going after all the scientists and whatnot, and him like tearing them up, and then you get to see him wake up and they're all dead on the floor. But in this issue, it looks like now we get Sabretooth entering this world. And so this is the first time you're going to see him in here, and it's going to be the first time that they battle in this universe. So I think that's a big deal for a lot of people. So I'm looking for that one to be kind of a spec book tomorrow. So yeah.
Cool.
And that's it. That is our most anticipated of the week. And that is our show for today. So we had a lot of stuff to talk about, and we did it in pretty good time, man. Just over an hour and 12 minutes. That's insane. So that's what happens when you don't have any news to talk about. So maybe next week we'll have some actual news to discuss, right?
We'll have a lot of books at least. I know I'm getting like a good amount of books, and obviously with all those, like a lot of the absolutes, there'll be long conversations, I think.
Yeah, I am too. I'm getting those a lot of those books also. So, all right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. On your way out, don't forget to give this show a like. It helps it a lot to get in other people's in their homepage so they can view it as well. Remember, subscribe to our channels. My channel, Comic Book Corner 2.0. Hopefully you guys like the new logo that I came up with. And also subscribe to Cat Comic Uno. Subscribe to Branch channel, Only Good Comics. And don't forget to hit those notification bells, guys. So as always, guys, have a great new comic book day, and we'll see you all next week. Good night, everyone.